We are back with yet another FPL video. This will be the best wildcard team for Gameweek 4. A highly requested video already. We are recording on the Tuesday, so there are games going on in the Carabao Cup tonight and also on the Wednesday. So bear that in mind if you're looking to bring in Chelsea and Tottenham assets, even those from Brentford. Be very careful, and I wouldn't recommend making early transfers, especially in terms of players who obviously play for those teams featuring over the next couple of days. So if you haven't enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. We're going to go for a 15-man squad. It's not going to be perfect. I'm going to talk about a few problems I have with it and also some other calls you could make, and it's entirely dependent on your preferences. And there's going to be some big questions here today, such as Wissa versus Jackson, which I'll try to answer in the best way possible. But without further ado, let's jump straight into this video. If you have watched my previous wildcard videos, you'll probably tell that I'm quite bullish on Onana, and I think he will come good. But some of you may argue that I'm being foolish because in Game Week 2, he got a 2-pointer, and in Game Week 3, got the yellow card, conceded 2 goals inside 4 minutes, and he produced 0 points. So he has been very disappointing after a very promising start in Game Week 1, but the expected goals conceded figure for Onana is 5.31, which is absolutely horrendous. I did talk about him in the transfer tips video as well, and I think once the fixtures clear up a little bit around Game Week 6, when they face Burnley away, then they've got Crystal Palace at home, they've got Sheffield United a few weeks after, I think that's where Onana will start delivering some good points. But over the next 2 game weeks, I do admit, facing Arsenal and Brighton, I don't really expect Man United to keep a clean sheet, but you can rotate with Areola, who faces Luton Town in the first game in Game Week 4 in the Friday deadline. So be sure to go for a combination like this if you can. And in terms of formula and goalkeepers, it's Areola or Turner. And at this moment in time, Areola is the clear victor. He's made a penalty save already, and he's also making a lot of saves in general, getting bonus points, whilst Turner has been decent for Nottingham Forest, but in terms of FPL points, he has been nowhere near the level of Areola. So I would go for Areola and Onana, but you have some other alternatives such as Leno, who has such a high ceiling, and the fixtures do get better for Fulham. You've also got Flecken, who I'm a big fan of in terms of 4.5 million goalkeepers, but I'm going to go for Onana yet again. Let me know if you think I'm being a bit foolish here, or if you think there are better options elsewhere. I know a lot of you like Edison because he plays week in, week out for Man City. I just don't like that low ceiling, and if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, you're pretty much going to get a 1 or 2 pointer from the Brazilian. So these are the 2 goalkeepers I've gone for. Let me know your thoughts down the comment section below. I had plenty of conundrums in the defence. I was very close to leaving Estupinian in because of how good of an option he is in general, the goals, assists, bonus points potential, but those fixtures for Brighton are awful and they don't clear up until Game Week 10. So as a result, I've gone for 5 defenders from relatively decent defences, and they also have good underlying numbers. They also have a bit of bonus points or attacking threat, and I think this is a very solid backline. I've gone for Saliba, who is actually benchable in a lot of the game weeks coming up, but he can rotate, and even in those games where I'm a bit hesitant about him, like Everton away, Arsenal can still keep a clean sheet, and the Gunners are much better defensively on their travels compared to at the Emirates. And really, it's not a case of Arsenal being horrific defensively, it's them making basic errors which give the opponents a chance to score a goal in the opening minute, as that's been the case 3 times in this calendar year, which is a record, and also just giving away cheap goals is basically a gift to the opposition. But Saliba is a good option nonetheless. He produced returns in Game Weeks 1 and 2, and I'm quite happy to keep him in the long term. As for Rico Henry, this is a bit of a tricky one as well, and if you decide to go for Flecken in goal, I definitely wouldn't double up on Brentford defensively despite having good fixtures, and I think Brentford are a decent defence. I still wouldn't go that far, but Rico Henry has the assist threat. He's been very impressive overall, and I don't think the FPL points have really matched his performances so far, but that could certainly change with some of the fixtures coming up, including Bournemouth at home in Game Week 4. As for Gavadio, it could be him or Akanji. They're my 2 favourite Man City defenders. And one really good point you might be pointing towards is, well, if the Man City defenders also have a low ceiling of 6-7 points, then why not just go for Edison instead? The reason why is because he's a bit more expensive, and you can also get a goalkeeper for $500,000 cheaper, if not even $1 million cheaper, who will probably score more points overall. And in terms of those game weeks where you don't get a clean sheet, Edison is basically limited to 1 or 2. At least with the City defenders, although there's a slim chance they can get an attacking return, and they can also be sobbed off maybe around 60-70 minutes if that's the case, and they bank a clean sheet. That's also another advantage they have over Ederson. As for Chilwell, he's still my favourite Chelsea defender, despite Malo Gusto being highly impressive against West Ham and also against Luton Town. But I still think Chilwell is the clear standout, and Reece James could be back around mid-September, and that would spell trouble for Gusto. There's no need really to rush Reece James back, especially with his injury record, but I just think Chilwell's a safe option at the moment. He is fairly injury-prone himself, but if he can stay fit, I think he's one of the best defenders in FPL right now. And the last defender is Udogie, who I talked about skipping in Game Week 2, and so far I have gotten it wrong. I don't suddenly think that Spurs are great defensively, and I still have concerns about Udogie being rotated possibly in the future. But at that price, you can't really see too many better options. Maybe Rico Henry, Matty Cash, or someone like Anderson, but I think it's really close between those four, and Udogie is looking really impressive with the assist he got against Bournemouth. He's got the bonus points potential. He got an 11-pointer against Bournemouth there in Game Week 3, and I think Spurs will get a decent number of clean sheets, but I'm still a bit concerned, and even in some of those easier games like Burnley away, I'm not so sure or confident enough of Spurs being reliable, keeping the clean sheet and getting things done. I think they should have conceded multiple goals against Man United. That wasn't the case. Let's see how they do in the upcoming fixtures. But really what you get with this five-man defence is value. You've got assist threat, bonus points potential, and you can rotate depending on the fixtures. And I think it works really well. They coincide. When Arsenal have a bad fixture, you've got Brentford having a good one. And the same goes for all the other defences like Man City, Chelsea, and Tottenham, which are covered in this backline. So I'm very happy with this defence. It's not perfect though, and I would also encourage you to leave your thoughts because you might find an alternative who is even better. Three very popular midfielder transfers this week would include Mbeumo, Sterling and James Maddison, and I'm highly considering getting all three in the upcoming team selection, so be sure to check out that video. I've gone for Mbeumo because despite some difficult fixtures here and there, overall the fixtures are good for Brentford, and Mbeumo's on penalties. He's been absolutely terrific in the opening game weeks. He has been a bit lucky with the penalties, and that's not going to be the case every single week, but he's got the penalties there, and that's another avenue for points, and I think he's really good from open play regardless. You could make a case of Wissa being more impressive overall, but I think it's a really close call between Mbeumo and Wissa, and I wouldn't mind having both of them. Just be careful with fixtures such as Newcastle away in Game Week 5, where you might have to bench one of them, perhaps even both, and that's where having a fully stacked 50-man squad could help. But I'm always a bit hesitant about having 5 midfielders and 3 attackers. It doesn't mean it's the wrong policy, but I'm not a big fan of having bench points like that. I've also gone for Saka. He is the best Arsenal midfielder at this moment in time. He's on penalties. That could be shared with Odegaard, and I'm still not confident that Saka will take every single one of them, but I don't mind as long as all of the penalties do go in, and Saka can win them himself. He's also very good from open play, and he hasn't had a great start to the season, but he's still gotten some good number of FPL points, a 10-pointer in Game Week 1, an 8-pointer against Fulham, so it's not too bad all things considered. As for Raheem Sterling, I don't suddenly think he's absolutely amazing, same with Udogie, but over the next 5 game weeks, Chelsea have as good fixtures as any other club, and Raheem Sterling has such a high ceiling. He scored a brace against Nottingham Forest last time out at home, and he also scored at the City ground, so he's got a good record against Nottingham Forest, 3 goals in 2 games, and I would expect him to return yet again. And even beyond that, Bournemouth is his favourite opponent. He faces them in Game Week 5, so I think Sterling is a great acquisition. I would even consider buying him for a -4 hit, but do I like him a lot beyond the next 5 game weeks? Not necessarily, and unless he absolutely delivers over the next couple of weeks, I might even consider selling him by that point when we get to Game Week 9 or 10. As for Bruno Fernandes, he's also a bit of a tricky one because with Man United, I was prepared to sell both him and Marcus Rashford, and I still am, but I think there is a bit of credit to keeping one United attacker. And once those fixtures turn for United in Game Week 6, I think Bruno could do really well. He's got a good record against Brighton, who he faces in Game Week 5, and he can produce something against Arsenal, especially if they continue to gift goals at the Emirates. So I do like Fernandes, but I certainly wouldn't go for a double up in United offensively, and the same goes for Arsenal, despite the fixtures obviously being pretty good for both, in particular for Manchester United. And the final midfielder is James Maddison. He's always a bit of an injury-prone player, so I would be a bit careful with him. You've got alternatives like Diaz and Foden that you can always move on to, but Maddison has been absolutely quality in the first 3 game weeks of the season. The signing of the summer so far, and he is just a game changer for Tottenham Hotspur. They desperately needed creativity in the midfield, and whilst they have Lo Celso, who I believe deserves more minutes, he's a quality player, I think James Maddison offers that quality and consistency in the final third. The goals and assists, the set-piece delivery, on top of the great performances all round. So I have gone for James Maddison too. I am a bit concerned about injuries in the future. The same goes for Chilwell. But as things stand, this is looking like the optimum midfield 5 on the wildcard for Game Week 4. With only one premium in Erling Haaland, we have around 2.9 million left in the bank, so this squad will be accessible to every single one of you watching. I have gone for Wissa over Jackson, but I have to say, I am in two minds about it. I'm not a big fan of doubling up on Chelsea offensively and also defensively with someone like Gusto partnering Chilwell, and in terms of Mbeumo and Wissa, it might not be an ideal double up in game week such as 5 when they face Newcastle away, but against Bournemouth at home in game week 4, Everton at home I think it is in game week 6, I think that's where the damage could be done, and having both of them is a fantastic differential. Now, one big issue with my own team selection from game week 1 is doubling up on Arsenal and Man United offensively, and it just hasn't worked out so far in the way which I expected, and this could be a similar issue by doubling up on Brentford offensively, so that could be something to monitor. And if you aren't sure about it, then maybe go for Jackson or even someone like Darwin Nunez, Ollie Watkins. You can't forget Ollie Watkins. He is ticking along nicely. He has been frustrating, but he hasn't blanked in any game so far this season, including the Conference League qualifier where he scored a hat-trick as well. And I personally got Ollie Watkins at the moment. I'm quite happy to keep him, but on the wild card I would probably go for Wissa or Jackson, and that's not even mentioning Awani, who is a solid option around 6 million. Alvarez will tick along nicely too, but Wissa and Jackson are the two best forwards to partner Erling Haaland up front, and I have gone for a 4.5 million forward in Semenyo, who's been the most impressive of all of them so far. You've also got Cameron Archer, who could get starts for Sheffield United very soon. Osula has been getting minutes, which is pretty decent, but that could certainly change with Cameron Archer joining the club. And apart from that, you've got Mabama, but I wouldn't really expect too much from him, especially with Antonio firing on all fronts at the moment. So there's a really solid 50-man squad, but once again, there are issues, and I think that double up in Brentford offensively could be poor in certain game weeks, but you do have the squad depth to cover for that, as I'll show you in FPL Team right now. I'm going to show you the lineup for Game Week 4 and how this team will look like in future game weeks as well. Despite Onana being the more expensive goalkeeper, I would go for Areola between the sticks. I think West Ham have a better chance of keeping a clean sheet than Man United in Game Week 4. I've also gone for a back three of Rico Henry, Chilwell and Gvardiol, all with home fixtures, and they all look very good on paper. I actually think Nottingham Forest will score against Chelsea, but Chilwell can still get some attacking returns. I've also started all 5 midfielders, Saka, Maddison, Sterling, Mbeumo and Bruno Fernandes, all of them with pretty good fixtures, I would say, although you do have that clash between Bruno Fernandes and Saka. And I've also gone for a front two of Wissa and Erling Haaland, and the bench is very solid. You've got Udogie, Saliba, Semenyo and Onana, of course, making up the numbers. Some of you may even want to start Udogie over Rico Henry or Bruno Fernandes. I personally wouldn't, but it's not a bad idea. The algorithm does favour Erling Haaland, what a surprise, as the captain, and Mbeumo is tipped to be the second highest scorer in this 50-man squad according to FPL Team, and I would genuinely consider Sterling, Mbeumo, Haaland and Wissa for the captaincy. I probably wouldn't go for Saka or Bruno Fernandes. I think the goals in that game could be shared, and you've also got Maddison against Burnley. He's a good shout as well, but I would probably stick to the Brentford attackers, Haaland or Sterling from this 50-man squad. Now, if you look at Game Week 5, this is where the issues could arise. You've got Brentford facing Newcastle, and we've got a triple up in them, but you can start Mbeumo or Wissa depending on your preference, and then go for a back four here of Udogie, Chilwell, Gvardiol, Saliba, starting all 5 midfielders and Erling Haaland up front. And you've got a decent bench, of course, and you might even have some bench points, of course, but it's not the worst thing, I think, and it's still a pretty solid squad overall. In Game Week 6, once again, when Saliba and Udogie face each other, and I wouldn't back any team to keep a clean sheet in the North London derby, you can go for a triple up in Brentford yet again, facing Everton at home, Onana, that's where the fixtures turn for him, and Bruno Fernandes, facing Burnley away, Chilwell, Gvardiol, Rico Henry is the back three, midfield 5, yet again the same thing, and you've got a front two this time of Wissa and Erling Haaland. So I think this wildcard squad is quite versatile, but it's all down to your personal preferences. If you want Jackson and you're not too keen on double Brentford attack, go for Jackson over Wissa. You will have enough money because, as you can see, I've got 2.9 million left in the bank and Jackson is only 1 million more expensive than Wissa right now. So I think this will definitely work for you, and there could be another few tweaks you can make, like instead of Bruno Fernandes, you might not be feeling Man United attack, you can go for Foden or Luis Diaz, who I'd highly recommend as well. If you want a 4 million defender, I would personally go for Gusto at this moment in time. He is 4.1 million, but he is not someone for the long term because, as I said, Reece James is expected to be back by the next month or so. But this is a really good squad in my opinion. Of course, I will be a bit biased. I did create myself. But if you are looking to use the wild card, I think this video will help you. And even if you're not, this can help with your transfer plans in terms of targeting the best teams and assets over the next 5 to 10 game weeks. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 300 likes. Let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the FPL League. All of that is there. I'd also highly recommend you check out Draft Pound using my link. I wish you all the best of luck for Gameweek 4. And if you are using the wildcard, all the best of luck with the chip. And I'll see you next time.